Hello everyone and welcome to May B&B 724 YouTube channel. Please hit the subscribe button and give this video thumbs up. When Steffi calls Daphne, it causes panic. A business meeting at Forrester Creations took an unexpected turn when Steffi Forrester exaggerated the popularity of the fragrance line, according to the Bold and the Beautiful recap for Thursday, June 19th. Steffi insisted on bringing Daphne Rose back to Los Angeles because she wanted an expansion. Hope Logan attempted to talk Steffi out of the scheme, but Steffi pretended that Hope's ring would make it obvious to Daphne who Carter Walton had selected. Hope was also soothed by Carter, who eventually spoke with her in private. Carter told her she had nothing to worry about because he was devoted to Hope and didn't think Daphne would ever come back. Hope's countenance was pained as they hugged, though, and she still appeared worried about Daphne returning for Carter. B&B fans witnessed both ends of their phone conversation when Steffi contacted Daphne in the interim. Steffi pointed out that they had a public relations issue after praising Daphne for the new men's perfume she had created. Daphne argued that the new fragrance would sell itself, but Steffi persuaded her to go back to Los Angeles and assist with its introduction. Daphne inquired in jest if this was blackmail when Steffi persisted. Although Steffi disputed that, she emphasized that she wanted her friend back and thought this would be beneficial for business. Carter and his engagement to Hope were discussed, and Daphne was depressed about it. Daphne ultimately declined Steffi's request, stating that she was unable to consider Carter. Unfortunately, as she relived so many of their intimate moments together, Carter did eventually infiltrate Daphne's thoughts. Rich Forrester told Taylor Hayes at the Forrester mansion that he had seen his half-brother conversing with Brooke Logan and that Nick Marone had returned. Taylor obviously believed Brooke was at the heart of those feuds since Ridge detested Nick as much as he detested Bill Spencer. Ridge refuted that, claiming that their egotism was the reason he disliked them. Taylor believed that Brooke had the right to her own opinion and that she could visit Nick, even if that was not what Ridge desired, even while Ridge had the right to his. Taylor believed Ridge should understand that Brooke was a mature lady capable of caring for herself if they were reuniting. Taylor encouraged Ridge to think about the possibility that it was, despite his insistence that it wasn't. Ridge reiterated he didn't like Nick and never would after saying he'd be okay if that's what Brooke wanted. Despite his denial of his jealousy, Taylor appeared uneasy as Ridge drew her into an embrace. Brooke updated Katie Logan in the Forrester design office about Nick's visit and how, based on his response, it might have given Ridge a push. Katie questioned how it all transpired and questioned whether Brooke believed Ridge was jealous. Brooke acknowledged that Ridge warned her to avoid Nick after he departed. When Ridge was reunited with Taylor, Brooke was forced to avoid Nick, which Katie felt was unfair. Brooke conceded that perhaps Ridge was merely being protective, but Katie sensed her thoughts and concurred that perhaps he was envious. According to spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Brooke's romantic life will continue to be complex. The course of Brooke Logan's life has altered. According to Thursday, June 19th, 2025, spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Brooke gets access to a whole new universe. How quickly things change, my. On Monday, Brooke Logan was all about her future with Ridge Forrester. But by Thursday, she might be discussing her fate with someone else. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Brooke's bedroom may get warm. Brooke is eager to share her experience in Kiss with Nick Marone with Katie Logan. Yes, he is back in Los Angeles. He told her that he wanted to see her again after surprising her in her pants in Eric's office. Brooke is unsure of what to think because she never anticipated such a thing. Big Mouth Katie, meanwhile, is always thinking. She warns Brooke to exercise caution because she once had feelings for Nick. Though Hope Logan feels the same way, she might also be bored of seeing Brooke lust after Ridge. They want Brooke to be content, and it may be time to accept that Ridge is no longer the right man for her. Is Brooke able to embrace a new fate where she sings her love songs and is loved by no one else? Who wouldn't? Read more. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful. Taylor turns down Ridge's marriage proposal, allowing him to go after Brooke? Paradise trouble? Liam Spencer wants Hope and Steffi Forrester Finnegan to be friends again, but how long can that last? If Steffi is determined to bring Daphne Rose back to Los Angeles, perhaps not for very long. Now that she is at last content with Carter Walton, Hope most certainly does not want that lady back in their lives. Since there was always rivalry for Liam, she doesn't need competition for Carter. Hope has had enough, and now there is even competition for Thomas Forrester. Will Hope and Steffi's truce be broken by Daphne? She may choose to stand up for her boyfriend, who was never truly her man in the first place, since she is in love with Carter. And what actually transpired in Carter's flat the night Daphne consoled him? To see how these plots unfold, watch brand new episodes of The Bold and the Beautiful airing on CBS over the week. Hayes in danger, Ridge and Nick's futures, and Taylor and Brooke's disagreement. Spoilers for Friday, June 20th, 2025, are available for The Bold and the Beautiful. Fans may anticipate a conversation between Brooke Logan and Taylor Hayes, but when it comes to Nick Marone and Ridge Forrester, they will not agree. Let's discuss the upcoming developments in the CBS soap drama as you continue reading. Taylor's finding. On Thursday, fans watched as Taylor pressed Ridge to discover what he had been thinking about all night. At last, he acknowledged that he discovered Brooke and Nick together. Taylor made an effort to advise the designer. However, it appeared as though Taylor was pressuring Ridge to acknowledge that he still harbors feelings for Brooke. Despite her frequent interrogations, the psychologist may argue that she is not insecure. See what transpired in the most recent B&B episode by reading this. Brooke Logan's struggle. Nick has presented her with an alluring offer over with Brooke. But according to Nick, she needs to put Ridge in the past. Fortunately, the sailor let her time to consider it. The blonde wants to be with Ridge since she knows that she still loves him a lot. However, Brooke must also find a way to move on if Ridge has already done so with Taylor. It's definitely not helping that Ridge and I work at Forrester Creations every day. Competitors are at odds. According to spoilers for tomorrow's episode of The Bold and the Beautiful, Taylor and Brooke finally meet. Taylor is correct, but Ridge despises Nick and wants him to avoid Brooke. Ridge no longer has the authority to dictate to the blonde, who is now an adult. Taylor will want to maintain her connection with Ridge. At the same time, Ridge's jealousy of Nick consumes his attention. That raises serious concerns for Taylor. The two women don't seem to agree on what should happen with Ridge and Nick. Read this. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful. Poppy gives Luna the message she needs to hear. June 20th, 2025, Friday. A development with Hayes Forrester Finnegan may potentially occur in the interim. As Luna Nozawa approached the young kid and presented him with a gift, fans looked on in horror. After Luna didn't harm him, she was invited on the spur of the moment to teach the art class that Hayes is taking at the beach house. What will happen when Electra Forrester arrives to pick up the young boy? This will just allow Luna greater access to him. As Steffi Forrester boldly pitched the idea of growing the company's popular men's fragrance line to the executive team, the air in the modern, glass-walled conference room of Forrester Creations was charged with tension and ambition. Originally intended to be a routine status update, the meeting swiftly evolved into an event that would have a profound impact on many lives. Hope Logan, whose knuckles clenched around her pen the instant Daphne's name was said, was particularly shaken by Steffi's plan to bring Daphne Rose back to Los Angeles. Sitting directly across from Steffi, Hope attempted to gently change the topic by reminding the group of the difficulties encountered the last time Daphne worked on a Forrester project. The engagement ring on Hope's finger, however, should make it abundantly evident to Daphne where Carter Walton's heart now belonged, Steffi said with a smirk, displaying confidence and maybe a hint of provocation. Her remarks were like a sugar-dipped blade, ostentatiously encouraging but incredibly unnerving. After the meeting, Carter took Hope aside for a private time in the corridor after noticing the expression in her eyes. Taking her hand, he informed her that Daphne was only a memory from a long-closed chapter in his life and that he was devoted. He even chuckled uneasily when he said that Daphne probably wouldn't return, even if she were invited. Even if his assurances were sincere, Hope's intuition told her that trouble was on the horizon, thus they were unable to calm her. Her eyes remained open as they embraced. Rather, they stayed open, gazing past Carter's shoulder like they were preoccupied. With the Los Angeles skyline gleaming behind her like a kingdom she governed, Steffi sat back in the office and quickly dialed Daphne while leaning against her desk. The camera shifted fro. Steffi's and Daphne's ends of the call. Daphne was seen sitting at a cafe in Paris with a laptop and a coffee, fashion doodles strewn over the table. Steffi's voice was lovely and saccharine as she told Daphne that Forrester needed her genius once more and commended her for coming up with a new men's perfume. She presented it as a chance, a pressing need to address a developing public relations problem, but Daphne, cool but aloof, responded that the fragrance would sell itself and asked why she was even needed. Her tone became more demanding as Steffi persisted, flirtatiously implying that this wasn't blackmail. "Unless that would work," she joked, half-jokingly. Daphne hesitated, gave a courteous smile, but her tone sounded off when she brought up Carter and Hope's engagement. When she claimed she was happy for them, her voice trailed off, but it was obvious she wasn't. Daphne gazed into space as Steffi hung up, then closed her laptop while her hand strayed to the necklace she wore around her neck, which contained a picture of her and Carter from a period of time she hadn't allowed herself to think about in months. She was overcome with thoughts of her time spent with Carter in the past as she left the cafe, the late night, private chats, their peaceful dinners, and his hand on her back. She soon found herself looking for flights to Los Angeles. In the meantime, Ridge Forrester paced impatiently through the lavish corridors of the Forrester home, telling Taylor Hayes that Nick Marone had come back and had been seen, of all places, sexing with Brooke Logan. Ridge's contempt for Nick was akin to his hatred of Bill Spencer, and it was evident in every word. Taylor listened intently and gently led the conversation towards Brooke's right to pick her employer while remaining composed and vigilant. She reminded Ridge that Brooke was an adult woman who could make her own choices and that perhaps there was no reason to argue with Nick's retain. Taylor wasn't convinced, but Ridge sneered that Brooke and Nick weren't rekindling their romance. Even when Ridge denied it, she shouted out his envy, and when he pulled her into an embrace, her bodice stayed rigid, her mind racing with the possibility that Ridge's heart wasn't as at ease as he claimed. Brooke told Katie Logan everything about Nick's surprising comeback and that unexpected kiss down the hall in the Forrester design office. When Katie inquired as to whether Ridge was aware, her eyes widened in both amusement and alarm. With a hesitant nod, Brooke described Ridge's reaction, telling her to avoid Nick. That annoyed Katie, who felt that Ridge's demands were absurd given his claims to have moved on with Taylor. When she asked Brooke if Ridge was jealous, Brooke acknowledged that it certainly appeared so. She wasn't prepared to make snap judgments, though. Nick's audacious proposal, a future with someone who loved her and only her, made things even more difficult. Their kiss was warm, genuine, and comfortable in ways Ridge hadn't experienced in a long time, and Brooke couldn't stop reliving it in her head. Nick assured her that there would be no more triangles or suffering in her future. However, embracing that fate required her to move on from Ridge, which was no easy task after decades of feeling they were destined to be together. Katie gently encouraged Brooke to think that perhaps, just possibly, Ridge wasn't her destiny anymore, but she also cautioned her sister to proceed with caution. The tenuous ceasefire between Hope and Steffi across town was already beginning to show symptoms of strain. The two women had been attempting to live together without the customary veiled insults and sarcastic comments ever since Liam had pleaded for harmony between them. However, everything could fall apart due to Daphne's impending homecoming. Hope told Brooke in private that, despite their previous tight relationship, she didn't trust Daphne. Now that Hope had what Daphne had once desired, she pondered whether Daphne would attempt to assert her claim. And what actually transpired when Daphne consoled Carter following a charity banquet that evening. He said they had a conversation, but was that all? Hope was plagued by doubt. Ridge kept thinking about Brooke and Nick back at the mansion. He attempted to concentrate on his life with Taylor, but he kept thinking about Nick's hand on Brooke's waist and how beautiful, flushed, and laughing Brooke had been. He convinced himself that he was merely protective rather than envious. Even him, however, wasn't convinced. He started looking at his phone more frequently, wondering if Brooke had sent him a text. She hadn't. Every micro-expression, every wrinkled brow, every tap of his fingers against the table, was noted in Taylor's mind as he observed his mood change. She was more than a lover or a mother. As a therapist, she witnessed what Ridge would not acknowledge. She questioned him about it the following day. Taylor questioned whether Ridge was really over Brooke when he attempted to dismiss it. Taylor winced as he responded too hastily, yes. Taylor and Brooke also got into a fight at the same time. When the two women met in the Forrester courtyard, their relationship cooled. Taylor claimed that just as Ridge was at last content, Brooke was causing mayhem and supporting Nick. Brooke defended herself by claiming that Ridge had no right to control her social circle. In only a few minutes, years of heartache, love, and betrayal came flooding back into the discourse. When Luna Nozawa, who was still dealing with feelings of abandonment and retaliation, became more and more fixated on Steffi's kid, Hayes, the emotional web grew even wider. Luna became obsessed with the child following a heated yet courteous conversation at the beach house, where she had been requested to instruct an art class Hayes was taking. Her bond with him grew stronger, maybe psychological, maybe sinister. When Hayes was picked up by Electra Forrester that afternoon, she discovered Luna kneeling next to him in the sand, clutching a painted seashell and muttering something incomprehensible. With her instincts sharpened, Electra pulled Hayes away at the sight, which chilled her to the bone. News spread quickly. In a matter of hours, Steffi was phoning Ridge, who in turn contacted Finn. Hayes's biological grandma, Sheila Carter, was hiding in the shadows, already incensed that Luna had interacted with the boy in any way. Sheila fingered the jagged edge of a picture of Hayes she had in her purse and growled to herself, "She had better keep her distance from my grandson." Sheila vowed that she had changed, but her eyes conveyed a different message. As if that weren't enough, rumors started to spread that Remy Price would be returning to Los Angeles. The gossip mill at Forrester was churning even before Daphne had touched down. She had already secured a suite at the Hotel Bel Air, according to some. Hope's stomach churned when she noticed the mysterious text message that Carter got, which had no sender ID and said, "You'll see me soon." Meanwhile, Steffi readied himself for combat. Steffi didn't care that she knew Hope would object to bringing Daphne back. Daphne's magic was necessary for Forrester, and business was business. Feeling trapped, Hope informed Carter she didn't want to vie for his affections. Tired and conflicted, Carter vowed there was no rivalry, but he acknowledged that he had previously harbored affections for Daphne. That night, Brooke stood on the edge of her balcony, staring into the night with her mind spinning as the city lights twinkled below. Nick desired her future. She still had Ridge in her past, and her fate was changing somewhere in the hazy middle. Her robe caught in the breeze, and for a moment she pictured what it would be like to start over, with Nick, free of triangles, treachery, and regrets, and to escape the tangled webs. However, was she able to let Ridge go? She was unaware at the time, and as the hours went by, it became clear that Steffi's phone call to Daphne had set off a series of events that would alter everything, not merely cause panic.